Welcome to That's Why Podcast with Anna and Patricia, the show where we arouse your curiosity while we dull your senses.
Hola, Patricia.
Hola. I love it. I wasn't expecting this. I like it a lot.
I was like, ooh, I got to do something different today.
Me gusta. How are you?
I'm sad that we have to record remote.
Yeah, me too. We had all this planned. People, if you only knew, I was going to go to a Lao celebration or New Year's.
Lao
it's
New Year at the temple. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we missed out on that one. That's
you know
okay.
what though? The rain was horrendous this morning.
Yes.
And I'm just not in the mood to be outside.
I am so with you. I don't know. I think it comes with age.
Oh, I'm not in it. And I was getting over a sickness this week because my throat, I sounded like a 70-year-old smoker. But then in 2 days, I started to sound like a person going through puberty.
You know what's funny? Okay, guys, Anna's saying this, but I heard her voice and she sounded very sexy. She really did. She thinks she sounds like that, but she mostly sounded like that.
No. And then my voice, it could get really deep because my voice was really, I was like trying to talk to Peter with my deep voice and he was not having it. I was like, what do you want for dinner?
I can only see Peter's face. That's hilarious.
But I miss you.
I miss you too. That's okay. Next time we're going to do it in person.
Yes, please.
You know what? It's like we're getting over the hump of like winter and spring fighting each other to see who's going to stay. Haven't you noticed that lately in Utah? It's been like great one day and then for 2 days it's like super cold and we're like, are we reverting back? So closer to the end of spring, I think we're going to be able to, I'd love to do it somewhere, like in some venue.
I would love that too.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I have more fun that way because we're in a different place, the environment.
Yes.
And you've got Giovanni in the back.
Yeah, my son is doing twists. Oh my gosh. If you can only
prom.
See the situation. But he's doing it himself. So I admire that.
That's hard.
Yeah. That's not easy doing those twist sprays with the two. But he rocks everything he touches. So I have no doubt he's going to look great.
Can you twist your own hair?
Yeah.
And braid your hair?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's talented.
I can. But you know what? Listen, growing up in New York, first of all, I'm the baby. So I'm like number 5. So they don't even know where I'm at half the time.
Oh,
as long as they feed me, that's all the care that I get. So you have to learn how to be independent. Oh my God, I'm saying that about myself, but here's my son, my baby, twisting his own hair. Oops. The babies always get like nothing. We get nothing. We have to learn how to. So I learned probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years old to braid my hair and do my own thing. So I've been doing it forever.
That's awesome. I didn't do my own hair, but I remember I would just like brush my hair and that was the extent of it. But I remember doing my own laundry at like 4 years old.
Wow.
Mopping, vacuuming. At 4.
Anna, I could so see that. No, are you kidding me? My mother would not let us near her appliances because she had to value them and afraid that we'd ruin it. But no, I never did laundry. But my hair, now Anna, you say that, but you have long, beautiful, straight hair. When you have hair curly and crazy like mine, you have to learn how to contain it. So that's why you got to learn how to braid it and do pigtails and all those little things when you're younger. So Anna, you're an expert in laundry.
No, I hate doing laundry. I would rather scrub toilets.
Wow, that's interesting. I'd never heard anyone say that. See, I love doing laundry. Okay, we could live together. Anna.
Yes.
We've discovered that for many reasons. But anyway, but here we are.
And today we're going to talk about the mind. The mind. Right? It's crazy because upon my research, of course, I go down a rabbit hole and we can talk about a trillion different things about the mind.
Yes.
So I had to kind of hone it in and focus on a few topics.
Okay.
The first topic I want to talk about is the placebo effect because I know that a lot of people, and placebo effect does help if you train your mind because your brain, it's called neuroplasticity, where we can rewire it based on experiences and based on memory. And we have over 100 billion neurons that were able to do this.
Yes.
And the placebo effect, they did a study with Parkinson's disease, and Parkinson's disease is characterized by well-known motor symptoms, whereas the presence of cognitive non-motor symptoms, such as emotional disturbances, is still underestimated. So actually, I'll just let you listen to it. So basically, they used this guy who was unable to function, and as soon as he got on a bike, he was able to look straight. He was stable.
Oh, I see.
And all right, let me send you this clip.
You know what? That's awesome because yes, I have seen what you're talking about through Andrew Huberman and some other neuroscientists that I like to listen to. And that's what music also does. It taps into another part of your brain. That is the mind, not the brain. Anyway, so yeah. Okay, here we go.
It begins with a man who has severe Parkinson's, struggling to walk down a hospital corridor. He's hunched over, shuffling his feet, his hands are trembling. Then it shows the same man, minutes later, effortlessly riding a bike around the hospital parking lot. William Stauffer, whose lab studies rewards and emotions in the brain, says pretty much everybody involved in the Placebo Project has seen this video.
What I find really incredible is he's riding the bike and he comes back and he hops off the bike and he freezes, right? It's immediate. That's weird.
The bike apparently acted as a placebo, a conduit to joy.
If you can somehow isolate the pathway that enables that and turn it on, maybe you offer a new pathway to treatment.
I would have imagined, a doctor, the word weird just would never come to mind. He's like, that's just weird.
That's weird. So you can imagine this man that is incapable of having motor skills, but as soon as he's on a bike, he's stable, he can balance himself, he's having eye contact with people, and once he gets off, everything shuts off and he is incapable of all of those functions.
Yes.
So the placebo effect was saying they were able to reconnect those parts of the brain without using any medicine or any drugs.
Really?
Yes, that's why it was. That's why.
Yes, that's why.
So I thought that was fascinating. So going back to the audio clip, since Parkinson's affects emotion and movement, if you can turn on and restore dopamine signals, their hope is by manipulating the right group of brain cells, they can switch on the movement circuit as well.
Did you ever see that movie with Robert De Niro called Awakenings?
I'm sorry, I have not.
Okay, Anna, now that we're touching on the subject, you should watch it. Now, these patients were in a catatonic state. They were sitting in a wheelchair or whatever, and no one would ever engage them in these activities. So when the movie is actually based on a true story, that's why it's fascinating to me. And when Robin Williams was this doctor trying these new treatments, he was trying to basically convey the same thing that you just did with this video, where he would toss a ball and immediately, almost the reflex, they would lift their arm and actually catch the ball. But they were still every other part of their body, their facial expression, everything else. Right, correct. And it was so bizarre. It was weird, like he said in the video. But there is so much to discover about how the mind and the brain work in symphony with each other. You know what I mean?
Speaking of movies, I'm sorry it's a tangent, but I finally watched Tombstone. And I know it's your favorite movie, but I fell asleep. I'm so sorry.
Listen, it's an acquired taste, okay? And I think there are those movies out there that you either just love them or not, right? But there's so much about Tombstone that I love. So you didn't finish watching everything, but if one day you're bored to death, and I don't know.
I liked some parts of it because there are some iconic scenes.
Yes.
That I can relate to. But there were things that I didn't relate to because obviously we're not in that era. And I didn't feel like the wife, the one that was addicted to opium, I felt like she was a little irrelevant because she was just there drugged up on opium and then but you know what? That was what was happening, you know?
Well, I told a friend of mine that it was funny. We were talking about the movie and I said, it's a love story, and he laughed at me and I was like, no. And then when I went through all the reasons why, it is intertwined with other things, but it is also kind of a love story. And I think that that's why they made his partner, because I don't think he was married to her at the time. They made his partner not as relevant, but relevant enough to share that he then wound up falling in love with that actress.
That makes sense.
And being, do you know what I mean? And being conflicted that he knew he was kind of with the wrong person, but he had already made that choice. So it's a very interesting movie. Anyway, I'm glad that you got to at least see what it was kind of all about.
I will finish it though.
I would
promise.
still love it.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Let's go back to what we were talking about.
All right. Yes. So, Anna, that's amazing. So, let's read a little bit, if you don't mind. Okay, so the mind is associated with the brain, right? The two terms are often used interchangeably. Brain is considered to be physical thing. The mind is considered to be mental. The brain is composed of nerve cells and can be touched. I think this is when you can really relate to what's the difference between the mind and the brain, whereas the mind cannot be touched.
Yes.
Because when people are asking themselves, is it my brain or is it my mind? That's, I feel, how you can kind of decipher it, you know? Okay, and then one last thing. The mind is often understood as a faculty that manifests itself in mental phenomena. They still consider it a phenomenon because we're still learning so much about it. Like sensation, perception, thinking, reasoning, memory, belief, desire, emotion, and motivation. Mind or mentality is usually contrasted with body, matter, or physicality. I thought that was interesting.
I love that.
Yeah.
Exactly what you were saying. The mind and the brain are interchangeable. A lot of people think it's one and the same.
Right.
And I love that you pointed out that the physical is the brain and then the part that's untouchable is the mind.
Yes.
Since we know the brain is a physical thing that can be touched and seen, some components make up the brain like blood, vessels, and nerves. These cells are responsible for the brain's functions, and without these cells, the brain is dead. Any deficiency of these cells can cause damage to the brain. On the other hand, the mind has no definite shape or components making up its constitution. Therefore, it cannot be damaged.
Yes. And that's what I find amazing.
Crazy.
I like to listen to this podcast, and he also has a YouTube channel, The School of Greatness. And he had a neuroscientist. His name was Raul Jandil. But the mind has an infinite power, but only if the brain is working. Because that's how people, right, when they call them brain dead, where your brain is the reptilian part of your brain is handling, like right now, we don't have to think about our breathing. We don't have to think about our heartbeat. It's managing all those physicalities. Yet what's allowing us to provide the content that we are is our mind. So if that's when people are in a comatose state and they're in the hospital, it is so hard. Like you said earlier, a lot of times people don't think that they're one and the same, but they're different. So therefore, when your loved one or someone who's laying in the hospital and is brain dead, right? It's a hard decision because you're thinking, okay, the rest of their body is alive. But once the brain is gone, the essence of who you are is gone too, because it's your mind. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
So that's why that decision is so hard, because your brain is keeping your other, maybe, or maybe not, you're on life support, right? You're being assisted. But the fact that the essence of who you are is in the mind, I think is a fascinating thing. Yeah.
Because the physical part of you is still in existence.
Yes.
You know, we could still see you on the hospital bed, but then you're not there. Like you're not present because you are present.
But you're not cognitive. You're not cognitive of your own, even probably your own existence, right?
Exactly.
And there's something about this, Dr. Raul was saying that when the brain dies, you know how they say that we're wired? It's really not wires. It's those neurons that really die. And so when there's no blood flowing up to the neurons, that's when it all ends. It's so bizarre. What's really crazy is I'm still kind of ruminating a little bit about the guy on the bike. You know what I mean? And can you imagine witnessing that, knowing that someone has no ability to move, and then they get on a bike and they're just like normal, and then they get off and boom, it's almost like a switch.
If I saw that, I would be like, wait a second. You were just talking and having a conversation, and now you're off, and then you can't walk, and then you don't know if like you're shaky. Like, that blows my mind. That blows my mind.
Yeah, it blows.
My mind is blown.
My mind is blown, not my brain, but my mind. I like it, Anna. Boom. We totally needed to a little joke in there.
I mean, yeah, how would you react to seeing someone like that?
Well, I think when people are not aware of biology and science and all of that, you could totally see someone and think they're faking it.
Oh,
that's why they have
true.
to have all those experts when you're in a trial. They have to have experts of different kinds because they have to look in deep. With Alzheimer's, so often, I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Ammon, but he's one of the few doctors now that are really saying, when you have diabetes, you check your blood. You're actually checking something biological in about of the body. When you have cardiac issues, you check the heart. People check it. No one ever really, when you're having mental, right? Depression, anxiety, all those things, ADD, anything having to do with the mind.
Yes.
No one looks at the actual mind and sees. There's calcium deposits that build that they've attributed to Parkinson's or Alzheimer's and all those things. So I think you can see him and being like, you must have been faking that. How can you just get on a bike and do that and then get off? But when you know that that's a possibility, then you understand. And even the way we behave as human beings. You know what I'm saying?
And in that movie that you were talking about, when someone threw the ball and then they caught it instinctively, I don't mind having a movie ruined for me. So what happened at the end?
He basically introduced a drug that would make those neurons connect so that they can then be able to get up and walk and talk and be more engaged. That way, instead of that, and I don't even know if that would be kind of your reptilian side picking up the ball, right? Like fight or flight reaction, how you immediately react to something is probably the brain. And then this experimental drug, since it had never been done before, they were starting to have secondary effects, some people. And unfortunately, they reverted back.
Oh, really?
You've got to see the movie. It's really awesome.
I will.
So it is a sad ending, I feel. Yet one of my mantras this year is don't be sad it's over, be happy that it happened.
That is really good.
And it's sad that they reverted, but the beauty was the main character in the movie, which is Robert De Niro. He had this problem since he was a child. So he never had experiences. So here he was, I think, when he had finally had full function of himself, he saw himself in the mirror, and last time he really saw himself was when he was a kid. And then here he was a man. And at one point in the movie, they always have to inject some love story in there. He kind of starts liking this woman. And he starts like combing his hair and doing things differently and wanting to be like independent. And his mother was not used to that. And you could tell her reaction on not used to seeing her little baby boy who's never had a kiss or a girl interested. And obviously he was putting the mom to the side. But it also makes you see how dynamics, in the mind, again, all in the mind, how we perceive things, and how she perceived her son maturing where she hadn't seen him that way. And he perceived himself as a man. He had never perceived himself as a man, having these feelings, right, that are connected to the mind. I may be digging way too deep in there, but I really think it's a great movie to watch.
Okay, I'm going to watch that. That's on my list.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to watch that today. That feels like a mood for today.
You know what? Yes. It's a rainy, cloudy watch Awakenings.
Okay, I will. And I like Robert De Niro. I like him.
And you know what? It was when they were younger. So, yeah, it's got a completely different feel. Now, speaking of the mind, Did we want to talk about flow states?
I don't know what that is. You have to educate me.
So
I'm ready.
Flow state is a state that you reach. Have you ever been so engulfed in a project, in doing something? It could be your artistic side. Anna, you're a hairdresser. You're in the arts. They find this often, flow states with athletes. You're so focused and you're so present that you lose. Time lapses. You nothing is in existence around you except where you are right then.
Yes.
That's kind of like, and they have tested their breathing, their neurological activity, their brain activity, and it all shows this state that's called flow. And it's really a beautiful place to be. And I would want to say, I liken everything to sex. It's like also when you're with that partner, like you're engaging, it's a great place to reach a flow state too, when you're having sex and you're so present. Yes. I mean, I'm sorry. Actually, if you're not enjoying sex, you probably might not be present.
Did I throw the laundry in the
dryer? I've heard some people say that, and I'm thinking that's terrible. That's so bad. But if you're having good sex, you're always present and you reach that flow state of euphoria and focus and enjoying almost everything that's happening right then and there. That's kind of reaching a flow state. And again, that can only happen in the mind.
That's true. I've experienced that a lot, where all of a sudden you look at the time and 3 hours passed.
Right? It does say here that in positive psychology, a flow state, also known as colloquially as being in the zone, like you just said, in the mental state in which a person performing some activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of the activity or said activity. So I don't know that, watching a movie, enjoying a movie would take you to a flow state, but maybe creating a movie would.
I just thought about it. When I practice drums, I can play for hours and not realize I've been sitting there for hours.
Yes.
And I thought like it's only been 15, 20 minutes. And then it's been like 2.5 hours.
Isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
Now, isn't the mind funny? Just for the same token. Because listen, reality is reality. Whether you think it or not, a minute doesn't go by any faster or slower. It's really your perception, right? So have you ever been at work and you're like, damn, those last 10 minutes are really taking a long time. You know what I mean?
Or a workout session and you've got 3 more sets to go. And you're like, no.
Oh my gosh, this is taking forever. It's like torture. And yet when you are really engulfed in something that you love and you're right, that flow state, you can't get enough of it.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I love drugs. That's just the way I am. But like when we go to music festivals or raves and stuff, we can be there for 12 hours and it feels like I was there for 1 hour. And by the way, I party clean a lot of the times. I don't do drugs all the time.
Yes,
but,
that's true.
Even when I party clean, I'm like having such a great euphoric time with the music, the environment, that you don't realize, oh my gosh, like the sun is coming up.
I experience that with this show a lot. When we do it together, Anna and I have such a great time. It's kind of like going into Costco. Don't ever go in thinking you're going to spend $20. This is impossible. When I go see Anna and we record together, 5 hours easily go by. We're like, holy shit. How
so
did
fast.
That? I know. We're like, I got here at 12. Fast. It's midnight. So that's being in a flow state. I'm in a flow state with you, Anna.
That.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Me too.
Yeah. And when you're hanging out with friends, family, it's just, flow states are amazing. And I really appreciate the mind and all that it can do.
Do you meditate?
Yes, I've been meditating. I'm not as consistent as I'd like to be, yet I can see how my life is so different. My day is so different when I do.
When you meditate, do you have a timer or do you meditate until you feel centered?
Both. Depending on the day, if I have to work that morning and how many, what I've done, I'll say, okay, I'll do a 20-minute meditation today. When I have the time, like when I'm off, I'll sit there and I'll do my meditation bowl, right? The vibration. I love.
Oh, you have a bowl?
I have a bowl and I love it.
that is so cool.
Yes, I saw
love the
some
sound
awesome
of it.
ones in New York when I was there, so I'm gonna have to indulge and get me a really nice one. But my point is that I have sat there and I do notice the difference from it being timed and regimented versus when I sit there and I just, there's something about when you sit there and allow yourself to be, when you've gotten to that point without a timer that you're good. Right? I think
Yes.
you can attest to that, Anna, right? Yeah.
So if you don't meditate, you can feel a difference, is what you're saying?
Oh,
you can.
Are you kidding me? Everything, my state of mind, the way I perceive things during the day, the way I can handle things during the day, and just my energy from getting up from meditating, it's almost like you've cleansed your mind.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love meditating, but I'm naturally a lazy person. So like if someone said you have to sit for an hour, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, gee. All right.
All right.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it lazy. I'm like that too. I mean, I'm like, okay, that's funny. Okay, so I was in New York with my really good friend Niro, and we have discussed because she can't sit still.
She's always on the go.
She's always on the go. Girl, she is experiencing back pain and some things, and I'm like, it's the way that your body is telling you need to slow down and you need to chill.
Agree.
We experience lazy people, like, well, if you want to call it lazy, like ourselves. We do experience other things that say, okay, now you need to get your ass up and go do something, right?
Yes.
So listen to your body because it really gives you a lot of cues and signs, right? Mm-hmm. You just have to know how to listen.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I wanted to just say, look into that one video on YouTube with that neuroscientist, like I was saying, Raul Jandial. I think I'm saying that right. It was really fascinating. It's an hour, that you can kill whether you're going on a drive or whatever.
Can you spell that again? What's the last name again?
It's Jandial. It's Jandial.
So flow state is, like you said, I guess it could be kind of like tunnel vision, right? Where like you're only focused on what you're seeing? Or is tunnel vision like a person's inability to open their mind? Is that a different term?
I think, just like anything else that can have a double meaning, I would say that you can really attach it to either of those, right?
Oh, got it.
Tunnel vision is a vision defect where objects cannot be seen unless they are near the center of the visual field. So metaphorically, I think tunnel vision can be related to the mind or the
flow state.
The flow state where, yes, you are it's right here. You're focused. That's it. This is all I can see. But when you're describing someone's character flaw as having tunnel vision, that's not a good thing because
interesting.
If it's a character flaw, you're myopic. You're just very, you only see one thing and you can't see everything else. So that's not a good thing in that state. But I would say that being in the zone, to say that you have tunnel vision is a good thing. So.
What's your flow state?
When I'm doing my nails.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I could do my nails for hours. Isn't it so gratifying when you paint it and it's evenly on and it's not on the skin, it's not in the cuticle?
Yeah, it's like, wow, I got that perfect stroke. Yes, and then you look at the final, what I love about when I do my nails, first of all, I save so much money. And second of all, I do it exactly the way I want. And when I look at the final product, it's kind of like cleaning. It's an immediate gratification because it's not a project that you, like, for example, building a cabinet. I could see how a cabinet builder can lose themselves and have a flow state. The stroke, the sanding, the cutting, the measurements, all those things, the putting them together. But it's a long-term project usually, right? So you don't I get into those flow states when I do things like my nails or obviously sex is one thing. When I'm going on a long walk, when I walk by myself, a great workout with the music. And when I know the steps and what I'm doing, I can just be gone. And I have to say, when I hang out with people that I love, that I enjoy their company, I can immediately get into a flow state. I'm with them. I'm laughing. I'm engaging. I want to know more. My curiosity is spiked. When I'm with my kids and we're having fun and laughing, like, it's easy for me to reach those flow states.
I love that. Yeah. Yes. Because, I mean, at work, do you feel like it's engaging enough for you to be in a flow state? Or are you also kind of like time management and, your to-do list, and would work be a flow state?
Gosh,
it's such a new term for me. I've never heard of flow state. That's why
I have actually reached flow states a couple of times in my job when I'm like, okay, I give myself a goal and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do, in an hour, I'm going to do 30 calls. And I'm like, boom, boom, boom. I'm like clicking on all this stuff. And before I know it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it. Like,
wow.
I feel flow state is, now that we're talking about it like this, I best describe it as losing the track of time. Like, stuff is happening and you don't even realize it's happening because you are not doing it. You are it. Does that make sense? You're not doing it. You don't even think about what you're doing. You become whatever it is that you're doing.
That makes sense. Yes. All right, guys, if you would like to be a part of our show, we would love to hear from you. Ask us questions and share your story. We'll give you our unfiltered, unforgiving, unqualified advice. Record an audio clip and email us at thatswhyshow@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at thatswhyshow. Follow, subscribe, and please write us a review.
Absolutely. We'd love that.
And what's our inspo quote today?
All right. Our inspo quote is, your strongest muscle and your worst enemy is your mind. Train it well.
Yes. Now I gotta go work out.
Oh, I'm so happy. And listen, with that, peace, love, and dark chocolate. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.